What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Shadowlands video. How are y'all doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Oh my god, a chest spawned. Hold on. Forget about the entire video. A chest. Hey, this is my chest. Get out of here. This thing just spawned like a second ago. Alright. How's everybody doing? Hope you're having a good day. We're going to talk about a dungeon that I did with a legendary that you should not craft. you just shouldn't craft this thing. And I'm going to explain why. We ran a dungeon with Legacy of the Frost Witch. And there's like a lot of good reasons why you shouldn't run this thing, and I'll get into them in a minute, but the biggest thing is that even though we got through a plus 15 Theater of Pain, we only did 9.4k overall. We were certainly behind the warrior. This build is like interesting. It has that sort of standard cadence to it. There's no ups and downs with this build. Its pack to pack damage is going to be pretty high for the most part, except that the execution of trying to pull off Legacy of the Frost Witch is just really clunky. And that's the biggest problem with this legendary. This is why it's just not super great, is because of how clunky it is. So obviously it says consuming 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon resets the cooldown on Stormstrike and causes your next Stormstrike to deal 30% increased damage. So that sounds kind of cool. And it is. Except that with double legendaries and tier pieces now, we get so many procs on Stormbringer already, which is our big passive here. We get so many procs on Stormbringer as it is that we just don't need this additional proc of Legacy. Like my Stormbringer, my chance to proc Stormbringer, which resets the cooldown of Stormstrike, is 8%. All of my special attacks have an 8% chance to reset it. That's a lot. That's a really high chance, actually. Like, I'm pressing Crash Lightning, Stormstrike, Lava Lash, Frost Shock, you know, and not to mention that nowadays, with my particular build, it's not focused on Stormstrike anyway. We're running things like Chill to the Core, which really focuses on Frost Shock, and Frost Shock generates stacks of Maelstrom Weapon for you. So, that combined with the fact that we have our dogs out for a lot longer now, and if I'm running a Witch Doctor Wolfbones, oh no, sorry, I can't run Witch Doctor Wolfbones with this, but our dogs are usually out because we're running Elemental Spirits. They generate a ton of Maelstrom Weapon stacks. If you just look at the tooltip for Feral Spirits, you get a stack of Maelstrom Weapon immediately, and then 1 stack every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. So, like, my build right now is very mastery focused, which means it's focused on things like my spenders, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Crash Lightning because it's a nature spell, and then all my fire spells, Lava Lash, Flame Shock, Sundering counts, it's a fire spell, and then my frost spells, Frost Shock. So like, I'm not focused on Stormstrike as much, and resetting the cooldown of Stormstrike and getting to cast it again is just kind of like, it's not really anything meaningful. Now, that being said, there is a build you can run here. It's okay damage. The damage on it is actually okay. It's just that the execution of it is so clunky because there's so many other buttons you want to be pressing. I did run it as Necrolord, and it felt pretty good. The haste felt really good because you would chain resets on resets on resets on Stormstrike, and it would feel pretty good. And you'll see there'll be sections of this dungeon that do feel pretty good. But I think that, generally speaking, what has killed the Legacy of the Frost Witch build is the changes to Lava Lash. So Lava Lash will now obviously spreads Flame Shock from your target to 3 other nearby targets. That change right there, in my opinion, has completely tanked certain builds from the past, i.e. something like Legacy of the Frost Witch or Doomwinds, both of which are just much more difficult to execute than the fire builds like Primal Lava Actuators. PLA is just you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to think about PLA. You just press Lava Lash when it's on cooldown and you spread your Flame Shocks as quickly as you can, and it does all the extra damage for you. There's no additional gameplay loop you have to think about. There's no like waiting till all the mobs are set together and then waiting till you've got your wolves out, and then you drop your Wind Fury totem, and then you go. You know, there's no like consuming 5 stacks of Maelstrom weapon. Makes your next, you're like chain lightning into Stormstrike, into crash lightning, into frost shock, into like a chain lightning to reset Stormstrike again. There's no weird gameplay loop that way. PLA is literally just like set it and forget it. Just get the flame shock out there, spread it with lava lash, and then it's just making your next lava lashes do crazy amounts of damage and cooling it down. Like the gameplay loop on Primal Lava Actuators and Witch Doctor Wolfbones as well. These are both so simple and easy to pull off, and they add damage at a better rate than Legacy does. And Legacy is just so much harder to pull off. On top of that, I haven't even have my tier set yet, which basically gives you the Legacy effect, right? Your Feral Spirits attacks have a 20% chance to trigger Stormbringer, resetting the cooldown of Stormstrike. That is Legacy. That is it right there. This obviously, this requires me to consume stacks of Maelstrom Weapon, but once I get my 4-piece, which is never going to happen, so it doesn't even matter. But like once I get my 4-piece, I essentially get Legacy for free in a slightly different form. Does that make sense? Like this will nullify the Legacy legendary effect. So I tried it in a dungeon. I really did. I gave it the good old college try, and it didn't do very well. Now, here's my suspicion. You could maybe run a Legacy build that is focused on crit instead of mastery. So if I had like 30 or 35% crit and like 35 to 40% haste, and I got rid of all the extra mastery on my gear, I do think this would be better, because Stormstrike does not benefit from mastery whatsoever. It does physical damage, right? So if that was critting all the time, if that had a much higher crit chance, then your damage would definitely go up, because this is what you're focusing your damage on. And, mastery just buffs all your other damage. So there could be something to be said there. And also, potentially, if you ran Night Fae and had, where is it? Seeds of Rampant Growth, right? Get the crit from this as well. That might be a powerful combination to put with Legacy. So, you build in crit already, so you have like 30% crit, 35 maybe, and then you get an additional 24% crit. Now you're at like almost 60% crit. And then you just go crazy with Stormstrikes. That could be something that you do. But again, it just feels really clunky, guys. I'm not going to lie. It just feels really, really clunky. It's so much easier to just literally press Flame Shock and press Lava Lash, and you're off to the races, You're off to the races with something like PLA. You're off to the races with Hot Hand, Lashing Flames. This gameplay loop is really, really good, With the Legacy Stormstrike build, I actually ran... I had to get rid of everything in the top row. So this was my setup here. I ran Forceful Winds and Stormflare. I could have run Ellie Assault, but like... Then I have 0 AoE. I need AoE somewhere, right? Primal Lava Actuators gets AoE because of this combo. You spread those Flame Shocks around, then you make the Flame Shocks do double damage. That is AoE. And then, of course, you're also going to run like Fire Nova or Hailstorm. This build here with Legacy, you got to get AoE from somewhere, so I had to take Hailstorm. So, again, it's also a little clunky on the talents, and it just feels really clunky just in general. There's no way to get around that. It doesn't really accomplish anything that we're not already accomplishing now with the way that our secondary stats are now. Like, we have so much haste, and my mastery is really high. So, we're proccing Stormbringer already on our own quite often. So, this Legacy effect just gets overshadowed by sort of the regular kit of Enhancement Shaman at this point in the expansion. Not to mention if you have the tier pieces, which are literally giving you this effect on their own. There's just better ways to build it now. Legacy is sort of being outshone by the way that Enhancement Shaman has changed. The spec has really changed into like a fire-focused spec. And that's just because of Flame Shock being spread by Lava Lash. That's literally what it is. That's all the change we needed, and it completely changed all of our builds. So, yeah, that's it. Here's what I ran, though. I ran Necrolord. I did do Plague Divisor Marileth. We ran Tumbling Waves, Chill to the Core, Focus Lightning. Again, I could have run Unruly Winds here, which I maybe should have, but I don't think it would have added that much damage. I think the real key here is to get resets on tumbling waves. On primordial waves, sorry. To keep cashing in the haste buff to press Stormstrike as much as humanly possible. So that's what I tried to do with the gameplay loop. Again, the damage overall was like okay, but I ran a PLA build right here in the next dungeon, and I did way more damage, right? 12.1k overall versus 9.4k. It's not even close. They're both plus 15s, you know. They're not even close. So I know they're different dungeons, but generally speaking, this is just a really difficult build to get into. And let's get into the gameplay here. I'll show you the footage. I know that took a lot longer to talk about there. I just wanted to make sure I kind of drove the point home as to why Legacy's not good anymore. It's okay, but I'm trying to explain why it's not that good anymore. There's some very real reasons for that. So here's an opening pack on Theater of Pain. Let's get into this. You'll see just some of the damage right off the bat. Again, it's not horrible. The gameplay loop is similar at the beginning. You want to press Flame Shock, you know, into Lava Lash, or Primordial Wave into Lava Lash. Then we have a big haste buff here. We're doing 23k, right? It's doing okay. 24k for a second there. The Warrior is doing 34k because he's got Blade Storm and Recklessness and Spirit Bastion, so he's always going to do a little bit more damage there, and that's okay. So now I'm trying to like chain my Stormstrike back to back, and I got a couple procs, which is cool, but the damage just starts to fall off here. We let our Flame Shocks fall off. That was a big mistake, but man, just see how far we fell off. Lag. Why am I lagging so hard? Yeah, I'm getting like weird input lag, and it's actually only on my end. I realize now that in these videos you guys can't see it, so that's a good thing at least. But I got to figure out kind of what's going on with that. So here's the first boss. Freaking input lag is crazy. This is, of course, always a good fight for us because it has more than one boss. Anytime there's more than one boss fight, it's really good. But imagine this build with Primal Lava Actuators. It's so much better because you can get 3 Flame Shocks all the time, blowing the cooldown of Lava Lash. And it's just like PLA just shines so much here. So, but we get in there. We're doing damage. 23k right off the bat. Not bad. Respectable. We're catching up to the DH. The Warrior's behind us because he doesn't have any of his cooldowns. I get stunned here. Just sad. But then the Warrior does get Spirit Bastion down, and there he goes. He's off to the races. This is a very good fight for Kyrian Warriors for sure. We have a lot of haste, so I'm trying to... Here's a great example of why this is struggles. I'm trying to press my buttons, and it's like too much haste, right? Watch this here. Look at Stormstrike. Look at all my buttons here. They're just like, I'm trying to press it, and I just can't even fit anything else in. The damage is okay, but imagine if it had a hot hand proc there. It would have just been Lava Lash, tab target, Lava Lash, we're doing tab target, Lava Lash, tab target, Lava Lash. So simple. So simple to execute, right? Literally a brain dead thing to do. And it would have done way more damage. So... I'm going to just lower this a little bit. There's a really important metric to talk about, especially in Mythic Plus, when there's a lot going on. In Raid, it's a little bit more like you know what's going to come. It's very much like regimented. You know, the cadence is there. You know exactly what's going to happen. Mythic Plus is much more random, much more difficult to pin down. Having a build in Mythic Plus that is reliable and easy to execute is so good. It's so important that you have a build that is easy to execute. This is why people gravitate towards big 1-minute cooldowns like Spirit Bastion on the floor right now. That's like a 40-second cooldown for him, but 40-second, 1-minute cooldowns, these are the way to play the game in a lot of ways because they are, you know, you just throw them down and you forget about them, and they do all their damage, but they're on a low cooldown. You can use them all the time,
Terry, how are you?
And they're really great. So we end up doing the most damage overall in that fight, but we could have done even more. If we had Primal Lava Actuators, it would have been even better, I promise. So it's just clunky. The gameplay loop of Legacy is clunky, and that makes it really, really frustrating to try and, like, just do damage. I'm trying to think about, like, using a Spender and then using Stormstrike and then using Frost Shock for the Hailstorm buff, and then, oh, I got a Stormstrike proc, I got to press Stormstrike. My Crash Lightning buff's falling up. I got to press Crash Lightning. Then I need to press Stormstrike because it probably reset it. Then I can press a Spender to reset Stormstrike because of Legacy, and then I press Stormstrike again, and then I need to press my Hailstorm Frost Shock. It's just like there's one too many things to think about. We talk about this a lot with enhancement. Is like sometimes there's too many buttons that you're pressing, and you need to get rid of some of your buttons. Sometimes there's too much on the brain that you're trying to think about, and you need to just reduce the amount of stuff going on in your brain because it'll make your damage worse. It'll make your damage worse if you...
It's funny, Stormstrike still isn't our top damage. We just get so much extra damage from the other stuff.
So, okay. Let's move to 25. There's another good AoE pack here. But again, Primal Lava Actuators would have done even better here. This is a fantastic AoE pack right here for Shaman in general, for Enhancement Shaman. It's a tough pack as well. But imagine Primal Lava Actuators here. I could get all 5 Flame Shocks out if I wanted to. It just would be crazy. Here's a big haste buff. I'm going. We're going. I'm trying to like think about what I'm supposed to do. I'm trying to make sure that Stormstrike is never really like off cooldown, but it's just really difficult to manage. We only end up doing about 10k here. Like I probably could have done 20k on this pack with PLA. I promise you. If I got a hot hand proc with this pack, which you would have, because I would have had 50% haste, I would have got like 20k DPS. So it's just Legacy's like okay, again, just really clunky gameplay loop, and it makes it really difficult to pull off the damage that you want to pull off. So let's move ahead here. We have the Zav boss fight at 27. One thing I want to highlight with the Zav fight that's really important here is that our damage gets really low. And I think part of that is because you need high uptime with the Stormstrike build as well. You have to be pressing Stormstrike. If you're not pressing Stormstrike, you're not doing damage. Versus like something like Primal Lava Actuators or Skybreakers, where you get a whole bunch of Flame Shock damage, a whole bunch of value on your Flame Shock because they're just passively ticking. And if you're taking Lashing Flames, you're doubling the damage of that Flame Shock, all your Flame Shocks, right? You can tab target through with Hot Hand and get Lashing Flames on everything. And that's a really big deal. That's a lot of damage that you don't have to be standing right in front of the boss to do. You don't have to be pressing Stormstrike. This is a really funny moment right here. Watch this. We both go down and we're both just like, kill me. Look at him. he's like kneeling and I'm jumping.
We both did the same thing. We both did the exact same thing. We were both just like, you kill me. And then neither of us was killing each other. That was really funny. We just won't tell anybody what happened.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that, right? So, again, this fight continues to play out, and there's nothing crazy here. It's just that our damage is quite low because this fight, in particular, lowers your uptime on the boss. Here's a mechanic. I have to run away from the boss. I can't hit the boss right now. I can't press Stormstrike. So that's really frustrating, right? But with Primal Lava Actuators, I would have a Flame Shock that's ticking for twice the amount of damage on him right now, and it would be buffing my next Lava Lash that's coming up. So it's actively buffing my next damage that's coming up, like even though I'm away from the boss. If I was running Witch Doctor Wolfbones, I could just be running out, and I would press Lightning Bolt into Frost Shock. And I can do that on this build as well, but that would help me to generate stacks of Maelstrom Weapon, which will reduce the cooldown on my dogs. So there's value, even though I'm standing away from the boss. Whereas with this Stormstrike build, the value, you get like no value standing away from the boss. You need to be near the boss, or else you just don't do any damage. I get thrown down here again, and we don't really do any damage.
That's
so
funny.
We move on. We'll go to the next section here.
The tank beat me on that one. That tank did so much damage. Holy
That
crap.
tank, yeah, the tank was doing well. That's another thing. We're barely sort of beating the tank, and we didn't even beat the tank on that boss fight, but that's because we got pulled down with the chains twice, so that can happen, but it's just... Anyway, this section of the dungeon here, I really want to highlight two things. There's a big AoE pack here that we don't do a lot of damage on, once again. Number two, the tank pulls the Wo Drifter. You need to pull the Wo Drifter on this pack. This is a fortified Theater of Pain, and he does a really good job with which Automa he pulls here, because then you can get the stealth, and you really need the stealth for this section, but I actually mess up my flame shock spreading here, so that's on me. That's a big problem by me, but you can see our damage is just, it's just not there. Like, even though I have a haste buff right now, we're doing 18k, it's all right, but it's just not fantastic. You know, the other guys are doing 40k. The tank's doing 25k. Like, what is, I don't know what happened to the hunter here. Not sure if he died or what, but so then we get the Wo Drifter the Wo Drifter buff. This is essential here. Look at this. You get stealth, right? These guys will put chains on you. On Fortified, this area will kill you. So you just run through here with the Wo stuff. The DH comes out of stealth and grabs everything. And then we just run through, and it's perfect. That is what you need to do. Absolutely 100% what you need to do. So, again, I try to do a little bit of damage here, but I got really sloppy with my flame shocks, and that's on me. That's my fault here. But again, like with Legacy, I just kept thinking like I'm trying to press Stormstrike, and I kept messing it up. There's too much to think about. There's just too many other things to think about as an enhancement shaman. Not only am I not doing my DPS rotation correctly, I'm not spreading flame shocks, but I'm also like not able to kick stuff here. I'm not kicking. I'm not thinking about extra CC that I can be using. I'm not like there's just so much that you're missing out on because you have this stupid Legacy gameplay loop that you're trying to accomplish. And for me, like I just kept messing it up. It's just so. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight the Wo Drifter thing there, though, because that was really important that he did that. And you need to do that in your dungeons. Let's go to 3310. This is a really tough pull here. Fortified Theater of Pain is actually really hard because these mobs are nasty. So I want to highlight once again that...
Yeah, the Paladin's crazy.
The Paladin was doing like 22k HPS, by the way. He was absolutely crushing. There's a bunch of mechanics in here that are important. Right now I have a curse on me that I can get rid of as a shaman. Shamans can get rid of curses, but I don't because I'm so focused on my stupid rotation.
Oh no. Oh.
I just got feared by it right there. I got feared by my own
that was so
curse
close.
that I'm not getting rid of. It's still on me. I have to keep dodging these stupid purple swirlies because I'm not getting rid of it. And I should. It's something that you should do.
I almost got knocked off there. Like, really, really close.
And I'm focusing so hard on trying to do my Legacy of the Frostwitch rotation that I'm not kicking Spirit Frost and I'm not decursing myself. That is unacceptable in higher levels of Mythic Plus. I mean, in Mythic Plus in general, but that's just unacceptable. I can't be doing this. This is not okay because it just means that...
insane.
Spirit, like, that does a lot of damage. All these abilities do a lot of damage. They need to be kicked. I have a kick. I finally use it at the end of this pull.
I did any damage there at all.
So,
I was just running the whole time.
Just some important things to remember that it's like you really need to have a build. The build being easy to execute means that you can do all these other things that you should be doing. Kicking, decursing yourself, decursing others, all that kind of stuff. It's so important in Mythic Plus that you bring all your extra pieces of utility to the dungeon. And if you don't, then if you're too busy worrying about like, okay, I got to press chain lightning and then into my Stormstrike, and it's not good. It absolutely is not good. So that's a really important thing. Make sure you're doing those mechanics correctly. Make sure that you have a build that you can execute easily, or else you're going to run into the problem that I just had here. Here's Gorechop. Gorechop fight. I just want to highlight really quickly that it's, again, another really good candidate for Primal Lava Actuators because there's 2 ads
we get 20%
that he has at all times. So it's good for Necrolord and it's good for Primal Lava Actuators.
Not going to lie, I got lucky with that chain positioning.
I was not looking.
I did not know where it was.
Again, I'm so tunneled on like my build.
I did not know where it was.
This fight
100%.
for Necrolord, it's really good because you can get basically 30% haste every single time because the ads will come up. You can do your Primordial Wave and you can Lightning Bolt cleave all 3 of them, get 30% haste. Really, really good for Necrolord. Also for Primal Lava Actuators, it's good to have 3 Flame Shocks out and you can get reduction on your Lava Lash cooldown, and then you can funnel all that damage into Gorechop. You don't even hit the ads. You just put Flame Shocks on the ads, and those Flame Shocks buff your Lava Lash, and you pump that Lava Lash damage into the boss. So really, really good Primal Lava Actuators fight once again. That's all I really want to say, actually, about Gorechop. Let's jump to the final boss here. Yeah, we end up dying here. We just had a silly wipe. So the final boss, once again, this is a pure single target fight. You think that our build might shine, but again, the reality is this fight is good. It has a lot of uptime, but eventually you have to run away from the boss, and I just can't overstate how important it is to have passive damage on bosses when you have to run away, like right now. I'm not hitting the boss with Stormstrike. I mean, I could be, but these other guys are really close, and I want to respect the mechanics. But if I just had Flame Shocks that were ticking, doing extra passive damage, and then buffing my next Lava Lash, it's just better. It's just so much better. If I have my Witch Doctor Wolves running, I could be pressing Frost Shock there into Lightning Bolt, into another Frost Shock, reducing the cooldown of my dogs. There's so much value in those other legendaries.
Thought I probably should have got hit.
And you don't need as much uptime. The versatility of those other builds is so much higher than the Legacy one. So, on top of all the other things of it being clunky and it just being, like, it just doesn't do as much damage, on top of all those things, the versatility of the build is pretty low, and you need an enormous amount of uptime on the boss, which you just don't ever get in Mythic Plus. It's not a realistic thing to say, oh, yeah, well, you're going to have 90% uptime on this boss.
Nice.
That just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. So. That was a 15.
So the damage it's whatever. It's not that good. Not as
That's
good,
a theater.
for sure. Also, much more difficult to execute. I'll take it.
Yeah, we got some gear as well. Pretty cool. So that's the Legacy sort of synopsis there, is that there's a lot of things that are making Legacy of the Frost Witch not good anymore. Number one, we have a lot of haste and all other stats now that mean that we proc Stormbringer a lot more often than we used to. Early in the expansion, this might have been okay, but right now it's not anymore because we're proccing Stormbringer like all the time. We're resetting Stormstrike on our own. Number two, there's a tier set bonus that is going to literally do this for us, so you don't even need it anymore. You're going to get virtually the exact same effect from your tier set piece. Actually, it would be even better because the Feral Spirits are going to be doing it all the time. So it's just better in the tier set bonus, so you don't need it there either. Number three, you need uptime on the boss. On all the content that you're doing, you need uptime on enemies, and you just don't always get that. Very, very frequently, you have to run out of enemies. You have to run out of the boss fights. You can't fight where you want to fight. I mean, I didn't even show you, but the whole section of that boss fight, the Koltharok fight, right? Where she does the draw, he does the draw soul on you, and you have to run out of melee, and you can't hit him with Stormstrike. That's what I'm talking about. You don't have a lot of uptime on the boss. Number four, the damage is just not there anymore. It's just not as good. Now, my build, for sure, is mastery focused, not like crit focused, so maybe you could do better with a crit build, but I just don't see this working in the new sort of enhancement shaman meta right now, where Lava Lash is king because it spreads flame shocks around, and you can just cash in on that with things like Primal Lava Actuators, with even Witch Doctor Wolfbones with a hot hand, focus build. It's just so much easier to get the value out of those abilities. So unfortunately, Legacy's on the back burner for now. I don't see it being played realistically. There could be some sort of crit build there again with Night Fae, but I just don't see it being played, guys. It's just not really that strong. So that's it. That's the build. I just wanted to make sure you guys saw that was a plus 15 Theater of Pain. I'm trying to get all my 15s done. We're getting there. And I wanted to make sure that we gave Legacy of the Frost Witch a really good shake. Like, make sure that it has a good chance of maybe shining. And I just think that it's a little bit below all the other builds at this point in time. So I would definitely save your Soul Ash and your Cinders and don't craft this thing. I'm going to uncraft this pretty soon and get all my resources back. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, then please make sure you drop a like below. If you want to subscribe, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing with your life? Make sure you subscribe, and I would really appreciate it. Until the next one, see you later.